Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Verena Lasvinia, and I'm excited to welcome you to our April edition of Spine Wellness Talk by VLF Spa Consulting. Thank you so much for joining me today, where we will explore how we as spine wellness leaders can take best care of our teams, ultimately the wellness providers. It is so incredibly important to make sure that those who deliver wellness are well themselves. And I know one person, a dear friend of mine, who has always cared for the well-being of teams with a very special attention. And that is Nigel Franklyn, the Spa Whisperer. And Nigel and I have known each other since, I believe, 2008. And I cannot believe actually that it's been so long already. And I must admit, Nigel and I have worked on several projects together, and I've always admired Nigel for his ability to create naturally meaningful connections with my teams in like no time. And every team he works with loves and adores him. So I thought he was the perfect person to join me for our topic today. And here he is. Welcome, Nigel, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, my love. I'm blushing. Thank you so much. And yeah, we've known each other for a very, very long time. How are you? Everything good?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Very good.
As you know, we welcome your questions, our lovely audience, in the chat on this YouTube channel, and we will answer them towards the end of this talk. But let's get right started, Nigel. Yes. Staffing, hiring, the biggest challenge since 2020, one that obviously has drastically increased from the experience that we even had before the pandemic. And it's already a journey to find and onboard new employees. But once you have found them, where would you feel that you have an opportunity and responsibility to make sure that those new hires stay? How important is it, according to you, that we care for the well-being of our teams that deliver wellness experiences? And how can we inspire wellness actually within our teams?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, there are two things. I've said this before, but with COVID, we've learned two big lessons. We've learned a lesson on our own mortality, and we've learned a lesson on the fragility of society, right? And so the expectations of wellness and wellness professionals have changed. There's something about therapists that drive therapy, that drives them into the world of therapy. I mean, it's this kind of altruistic drive. And I bought statistics for this. There's the American Massage Association says that there's 16% of therapists during the pandemic found work outside of the wellness industry. 95 of them have returned. 16% of those who have returned have reported wage increases. And I think that that's important. That's an important statistic because the expectations after COVID have changed. You and I can talk about emotional intelligence, things that we now require from our team of therapists. The expectation has grown, but the pay has stayed the same. 16% have reported wage increases, and there's no statistic on what that wage increase is, but I think it's really, the wellness industry has changed drastically because of COVID, and I think it's really important that we allow our therapists to grow and to change with it. And wellness industry has expanded so much. And when I don't talk necessarily about about the beauty part of wellness of the industry, but I'm talking about kind of spas with massage and connection with the guests, those kind of things. And I think it's really important that we understand how therapists have changed, what they have gone through. And so we talk a lot about mental health now and how the COVID pandemic has given us the opportunity, the expansion into mental health, but that includes the mental health of our wellness professionals as well. And so we cannot expect them to deliver something that they cannot find in themselves. I always say that, without the therapist, a spa is just a building. Wellness is not bricks and mortar. Wellness is Wellness is the delivery, the experience, the connection, the feeling, the surrender, all of these beautiful things that are within the building. Without therapists, wellness would just be a word. And yet we don't support these fundamentally important people in our industry. We don't support them with wages. We don't support them with opportunities for further education. We don't support them at the very beginning when they go to school, and we deliver the possibility of a career in wellness as something quite one-dimensional. I don't. I mean, I'm a therapist too. When I was at school, no one ever told me that I had the ability to change somebody's life through therapy. It was all just very one-dimensional, kind of hands-on experience. And I think as wellness grows, we rely on our therapists to deliver more. But our infrastructure is still very, very old-fashioned. So we need to, I mean, I'm not a spa. I have not been given the amazing traits to become a spa director that you have. But I think we as an organizational group of people, as a collective, we have to understand that wellness has changed, and our support for those delivering it has to change also.
You are often with therapists. Are there any insights that you could give our audience today on more really tangible ideas of how we can tackle this, of how we can care more for our team members, to have them grow, to support them, to retain them, which is ultimately our interest, tying in with this mental wellness approach that clearly is more and more important and probably will not leave again.
Look, I mean, I don't know. I've never met a spa director who interviews a therapist and says, "Oh, this therapist will make a great robot." And so I think it's important. We're therapists, we are emotional people, and emotional people look for something to anchor themselves to. And I think with a team of therapists, ownership is important. I've said this before in a few webinars, but one of the greatest things to do on a menu is put the passions of your therapist on it, so that every day you know that your menu is a living, breathing document. There are people, the goal always is for a therapist to arrive in the morning and look at their schedule and not see treatments, but see opportunities and see people, which sounds super romantic. But if the menu has the passions of your team written on it, not the vision of the spa or the passion of the spa director, but the passions and the lifeblood, the heartbeats of the people delivering those treatments, can you imagine the difference of that? Or people will come, and whether it's, I don't know, visceral manipulation or whatever, but people who are driven to higher education within the wellness industry, if they have an opportunity to deliver that to their guests. And I think also having a spa vision is great. I'm a developer, and so I operate on this kind of foundation of spa vision. But spa visions need to allow for your therapist to express themselves in their fullness, in the fullness of their wellness commitment, and ownership. It's one thing. The wellness industry is a strange one because it's decided, and I include myself in this. It's decided there are a collection of people who get to dictate what wellness means to the entire $4.2 trillion industry. And I would include myself in that, sadly. And we don't. Wellness is amorphous. It means 1,000 things to 1,000 different people. And I always say, as a spa director, you need to make a decision whether or not in your spa, do you want efficient therapists or do you want effective therapists? An efficient therapist will do the right thing. An efficient therapist will do things right. An effective therapist will do the right thing. And so if you support and empower your team of therapists to a point where they become effective, not efficient, then that's how you retain them, because these guys feel empowered, valued, seen, free. And that's how we do it. However, you also have to understand this huge labor that comes with being a spa director. I mean, you guys have to, leadership, expense management, empathy, organization skills. You have to be hiring geniuses. You have to work long hours. And so this isn't taking away, excuse me, anything from the role of a spa director, because that in itself is a mammoth task. But I think the role of spa directors has to change somewhat to incorporate a much more free approach to governing a team of therapists. And with COVID, those therapists who left the industry have come back to the industry, have figured out actually that their schedules are better as freelance, that maybe they're making more money as freelance. And so how could you make almost like a facsimile of that in your spa with your team, giving people the freedom to make their own schedule? Not even the freedom to make their own schedule, but at least freeing them up to work more favorable hours, to appreciate the work-life balance. It's important. I'll go back to what I said just now, but it's important that therapists come, see their schedules, see opportunities, and how do we keep them in that beautiful, glorious, very romantic, but still beautiful and glorious space. And that is, we give them the support, the empowerment, and the freedom. And it's up to us. I'm not an operator, but it's up to, I guess, you, to find a way to manage this new profile of wellness, this new profile of what a spa team can be, because it can't necessarily be anymore a 9 to 5, kind of like this cattle market, wheel it in, wheel it out situation.
But what does this new profile of therapists look like to you, who we would ideally have to hire?
They're amazing. They are, they have emotional intelligence. They have the freedom to express themselves. They have the commitment and passion. And in fact, I'm talking about a profile that already exists. I'm just talking about a profile that has been managed to death. It's almost like the profile of a spa has to change. It has to rise to meet the profile of the therapist. I don't believe the profile of the therapists have changed. I think the commitment, the passion, the love, the desire to nurture and heal, I think that's always been there. I just think that as operators, people need to allow that to come to the surface and have it be more important than, I don't know. I hate to say this to you, but not more important than standards. But you know what I mean. Therapists have to be, and you know this, all of our work over the years together. I always say this to therapists, that they should appear to their guests in 3 ways. Number 1, as a human being. Number 2, as a therapist. And number 3, as an employee, but hopefully never as number 3. But if it's the other way around, if they first appear as an employee, then we've kind of missed the point. And I think with the new expectations of a evolving wellness demographic, people who come into the spa, I think we have to give the therapist the freedom to evolve as well. And then, of course, you go into the other basics. Like, it would be great. Higher education, support your therapist's higher education. Give them, I don't know, the commission on treatments is an open discussion. I personally favor commission on treatments because I think it gives therapists the incentive to dive deeper into wellness education, or deeper and higher into wellness education. But I think it's important that we shift. The industry has shifted, and it feels like not much else has shifted. The expectations have shifted, the offerings have shifted, but we're still operating on a very old-fashioned model in terms of how we support our therapists. I'm like the gatekeeper of therapists.
I hear that. I hear that. But where do you think that these days we can find those therapists, even if we want to take care of them,
Look,
to join
yeah,
us?
look, I mean, I think we have to go to the grassroots level, first of all, and we have to change how we present the possibilities of wellness, of the wellness industry within the grassroots wellness educational system at the schools. And then I think we look at the trajectory of therapists, because right now I did a masterclass on this a couple of weeks ago. Right now, the trajectory of therapists, they graduate school, they go onto the ships, and then those who survive that experience come into the wellness industry, and then we spend a couple of years trying to make them better because they've been on the ships, and that's terrifying. And and so I think I've met some therapists who don't need to hear me. I've met therapists who just needed to hear me, and I've met therapists who don't need to hear me because they just don't really care. I mean, I've been on the full spectrum, but therapists who excel by themselves are super driven, and that's great. They exist regardless of whether we choose to evolve or not. It's this core group of people who are kind of a little bit lost, who are connected to therapy, who have been let down by the industry in terms of how they've been treated or how they feel within the spa they're in. And it's those people we need to focus on, and how do we elevate those people who have the core need and the core passion, but haven't been given the environment that they need for whatever reason to excel and join this group that's evolving by themselves. It's a strange one.
It is. And you just mentioned something, going to schools, and afterwards they go to ships. Now, question here: do you feel that therapy schools at this point are coping with this change in our industry and are integrating wellness actually into their curriculum, that the therapists are ready for it when they go?
No, I mean, no, I think that there are obviously different schools. I mean, my school taught me, anatomy, but it was all very informative. But I think you've heard me say this before over our years. The difference between information and inspiration is energy. And, I could say to you, I'm happy. You don't believe me because happiness is a word. Happy is just a word without that feeling, the energy of happiness. And I think there's a lot of information in our schools, but people don't understand. No one's teaching people, or mostly, that this industry is empowered and important and vital and fundamental. And it's something that people are driven to by this inherent need to nurture and heal people. And certainly I was. And I think when you have a collective of people in front of you who share this desire to nurture and heal people, it's important for you to, as an educational system, it's important for you to show them the light, show them the future. And the worry that I have with that is that, this, where we are right now is the schools are saying nothing. 60% of the spas are saying everything. And then what happens if the schools say everything, and then those people are so filled with joy and excitement, but they go into the spas that are still like, and there just needs to be some sort of consistency. And I think everybody needs to rise up and understand the importance and the power of this industry, whether it's, wellness tourism or spa or wellness retreats or whatever it is. The therapists are the thing that make this the most important industry for me in the world.
Yeah, that's for sure. Our industry wouldn't be if not for the great therapists, the therapists that we do have. I have one last questions before I see our chat is active as well. Before you go there, I have one last question. You mentioned you're also a developer, as I know. And is there something that we can, or that spa developers can do in order to anticipate this need of caring for the wellness of our employees? already in a construction and planning phase?
Well, yes. I mean, there would be a profile of commitment for further education, for example, for creating a wellness workplace environment to start promoting a sense of family and friendship and camaraderie within the team. There are lots of things that we can do, because as we go into this new post-COVID phase of wellness, where support and mental wellness is a part of this now, therapists need to feel more supported by them within their team, but also within the hotel or within the spa directorship or whatever it is. But yes, people would need to understand that their commitment to support and evolution is just fundamental in the growth of the spa. And it's difficult because there are rules and there are regulations, and we are emotional people. But there is a way to find this super healthy balance, where we are allowing our therapists to fly. We are paying them a wage to fly, and we are supporting them on every level. And I think I said earlier, with therapists that need to anchor themselves to a place, in my experience, therapists need to also anchor themselves to a person. And if you can become that person as a spa director, you're good. You're on third base. The battle is almost won, because therapists are committed and loyal and beautiful heartbeats, and supporting that is paramount to the success of the spa. I always think, if someone says to me, I went to that spa that I've been involved with, I think that's great. But if they say I went to that spa and they pull a therapist out by name, then I feel like I've succeeded.
I hear
Because
that.
it's the difference. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it is. I think you are the dream for every spa therapist, and I think a great inspiration for every spa leader. So thank you so much for having shared already your thoughts until here. But let's have a look at what we have in the chat. Tammy, who we both know, is sending a huge hug from Cape Town. Thank you.
Hi, Tammy. Hi, Tammy. My love.
Then we have Julie Wren, who is a nutritionist and well-being ambassador, who says, as an industry, we can grow them if we invest in them. They could be hiding in
plain sight,
but their skills, preferences, and talents have not been brought to light.
Julie, I will tell you just quickly, just in my own work over the years with kind of being the therapist of therapists, like I would give the therapist therapy. Many times I have heard from therapists that they feel like they are now awake. And many times I've heard from spa directors that they feel like their spa teams have relearned what it is to be a therapist. So you're 100% right. I think that a therapist who gets lost in this kind of miasma of spa and standards and things, just to be reminded of the thing that drove them to therapy. I mean, it's not even investing in them financially, it's investing in them emotionally, which is so much more sustainable, of course.
It's an everyday work without using the word work, but it's an investment that is every day by our care as a spa leader, I feel.
I mean, it is. I mean, listen, the biggest takeaway really is for people to remember your spa is a building. That's it. It might be a pretty building, might not be a pretty building, but it's a building. And the people in it, functioning in it, filling it with energy and heartbeat and life and light and love, those are the people who make the spa a spa. Almost by definition.
It does. Then we have Judy Smith, a very loyal participant in our Spa and Wellness Talk. She says, in my experience, based on my therapists, the schools are very inadequate in a business acumen. The therapists have a very confused outlook, and I struggles with budgets that keep the labor costs down and how to earn a profit for the owners. I always considered I was in business with all the therapists.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the key. That's the side. And I don't know if Trudy is I'm assuming she's a spa director. But I mean, Verena, I mean, I've seen you work as well. I mean, I've seen how you're, you know, back in Paris. I mean, you know, but I mean, but even, you know, up in the reception and not enjoying your team and,
being
you know,
part of.
and being part of, well, yes, yeah. But I mean, leading by example, which is such a cliche, but really, you know, for you to leave, and I know how busy you were in Paris, but to leave your office, come out and spend as much time as you did with the team, just to try to get everybody connected and galvanized. And that team, the George Tank team, was, I mean, maybe I'm naive. I didn't see any drama. I thought everybody was super amazing. Everybody was super driven. um, but it was a great environment, and it was something that I could. Everybody enjoyed being there, and that's really the key, I think.
Yeah, to create also some fun and to make sure that the team has, you know, that passion that they come in with the morning, but also that the day is fun, and to give them joy, and they know that they can get me excited and I can get them excited. That was always a big part of our days.
But it's also ownership, and more than giving your lead therapist, asking them to design a treatment, but asking your lead therapist to design a treatment collectively with the team. You know, there's the support that one therapist can give to another it's unspeakable. I mean, it's infinite, and I think that this sense of ownership, not just with therapists, I think with all emotional people, but the sense of ownership. And that's why I say put the passions of your therapist on the menu. I mean, make them a part of, give them an experience that every single day they have created something. And that's how they anchor themselves to the spa. That's how you retain them. That's how you become this kind of paradigm wellness experience by which all other wellness experiences should be measured. It's an important part of this wellness evolution. Do not leave the therapist behind. I feel like one of the US presidents, no someone left behind, but you know what I mean? Like, don't leave your therapist. You're focusing on finding new treatments, new trends, new this, new that. But let's also bring the therapist along for the ride with us. And we can't suddenly just kind of offload this new case of expectations onto them and say, you're going to do this for no more money, for no more incentives, you know. And then we go back to how poorly therapists are paid, and that's something that's a whole other conversation.
Absolutely. I have one last question just to reconfirm. Trudy is a spa director and consultant. And then we have Salita Beauty, who says, hello, Nigel. Any advice for someone becoming a spa director for the first time? What are the most important things to focus on?
Everything we've just said. The success, and I'll say this about Verena because, you know, she's a great friend of mine, but really the success of a spa director is understanding your team, and understanding that your spa doesn't operate healthily if your team isn't healthy, physically, of course, spiritually, energetically. It doesn't matter what your spa looks like. It really doesn't. Because of what I do for a living, if any of my friends have a spa experience, like, they need to tell me about it. And I have found in that it's an interesting result. So if my friends go to a spa and it's not a great spa, but they've really connected with the therapist, their perception of the experience is very positive. If they go to a spa that's beautiful, but they haven't connected, or they felt like they were being sold retail at the end or something, their perception is negative. So the spa itself is so far down the line on what actually makes a beautiful spa. So Salita, I would say, if you're hiring people, hire the people that you would want to experience in the spa. Hire the people that fulfill this, not your vision necessarily, but fulfill the vision of wellness. determined and the curious and the kind, those are the people who, and I've just described 99% of all therapists, so that's really not good advice, but you're not hiring laborers, you're hiring people who are delivering emotional, transformative experiences. And
if I may add to this, as a spa director, the best way to find this out is in a skill test. Go in. Often I have many spas where spa directors are not testing the new hires, but that is really where you can see, feel, and understand if that therapist is what you're looking for your guests and for your overall for the spa, which is very crucial.
But also, I mean, to that point, I have a friend of mine bought me a sign for my desk in my office in San Francisco. And it says, a good therapist knows massage, a great therapist understands massage. And so to your point, anybody can be taught a protocol, but look for the spark, because the spark will let you grow that person. You know, a treatment, the 60-minute treatment protocol can be taught to anybody. An experience, a true, authentic, nurturing massage cannot. And so the people that you hire should understand massage, not just know it, but understand it. Or therapy in general.
A great way to conclude this, because we're already at our 30-minute mark, Nigel. I know we could speak for hours here. Thank you, everyone, for your questions in the chat. And
thank you, Spa-Finder.
Goodbye. Absolutely. Let's wrap up the session with 3 takeaways. The first one, I would say, listen to your teams and open the dialogue. That's really the best way to understand your team and to get to know what they have in mind. The second one is to understand where the vision of your spa is, but at the same time, how it can include the happiness of your team.
Yes.
And the third one, you mentioned it, be the gatekeeper for your team and fight for them. It's really important that that they feel they have your back and that you're there for them.
Yeah.
Nigel,
yes. Yeah, just to jump on that very, very quickly. Don't be so attached to the vision that your therapists suffer. That's the point, I think.
Very true. Nigel, again, thank you so much for having joined me today. I love talking with you and hear your valuable insights. Thank you, the audience, for watching today's edition of Spine Wellness Talk and for watching the replay. I truly hope you found a takeaway for your operation and for your leadership. Our next talk is in a month on May 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I invite you to follow VLF Spa Consulting International on Instagram and LinkedIn. Please note that our initial Instagram account was unfortunately hacked and we are at this point not able to recover it seems. But we have a new account, VLF Spa Consulting International, on which we will continue the work we have started initially. As usual, the recording of today's talk will be available on this YouTube channel, and over the next few days, Nigel and I also will share the replay of today's talks on our different social media channels. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Everybody. Thank you, for the questions. Thanks,
all the best, and stay well until next month.
Big kiss.
Goodbye.